This episode of Truth Table is brought to you by our NAACP Image Award nominated book, Truth Table: Black Women's Musings on Life, Love, and Liberation. Get it where all books are sold.
Sisters, how y'all feel? Brothers, y'all all right? If this is your first time at Truth Table, welcome to the table. And if you've been sitting at the table with us all these years, we are so grateful that you have been listening to us through these years, and we are inviting you to partner with us and support our work at patreon.com/truthstable. Now pull up a chair and have a seat at the table with us. Hey y'all, welcome to Truth Table, Midwife's Culture for Grace and Truth. I'm Ekemini.
And I'm Christina.
This table is built by Black women and for Black women. So welcome to the table. See, how you doing, girl?
I'm welcomed.
Welcome into this place.
Welcome.
It's nice to feel welcome.
There's a song for everything, but yes.
There is a song.
Yeah. I'm doing okay. How are you today?
Good.
Excellent.
I'm good.
Excellent.
I'm excited about the topic on the table today.
Yes.
We're still in our Still Resisting series.
We are. We're gonna be in it.
Listen.
We're gonna be in our feelings. We're gonna be in this series. This is
Can't get over it. Can't get under
this
it.
is what it is. This is what it is. Well, first of all, we need to take a moment to acknowledge that you are wearing animal print because this is full auntie mode.
And it's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. Broken glass everywhere.
I mean, really.
Just saying.
Again, another song reference.
But I am fully in my auntie era.
I mean, I think so. I feel
Get
like
into it.
at the end of the day, I do believe that the aunties,
I got to give a shout out to the designer too. Go ahead. Let me Google her.
Well, first of all, the fact that your phone is also animal print.
Oh, actually, it's tortoise shell.
Oh, it is. That's true. But another animal reference.
Oh,
that is
true.
another animal reference. I'm just saying, just the whole. This is where we are.
Oh my goodness,
this is where we are. This is where we are.
I'm one step below from being the bedazzled auntie. I've not gotten into the bedazzled. I'm not in my bedazzled era yet.
Yeah, I'm not a bedazzled.
We should do an episode on the makings of an auntie.
We do.
We do.
The
makings of a Blanca.
That really shouldn't be controversial, but it could be. You never know what will be controversial to people. But
that is so true. You don't know.
That could be. But anyway, I think it would be fun. I think it would be fun. Yeah, I think it would be fun. I think we shall do that very thing.
Oh,
but yes. But speaking of aunties and aunties, I'm thinking about the ways in which aunties and aunties show up in political solidarity.
Oh, come on with the transition.
I mean,
because the topic on the table is still resisting.
It is.
The 92% to rest or resist.
My gosh.
Now that's the question on the table. Now this could be controversial, actually. This could be controversial.
I mean,
because the sisters, they had it up to here too. Okay. Shout out to Queen Latifah.
Mm-hmm. Another song reference.
Woo! So yeah, you're right. Okay, so to rest or to resist. I guess we can't simply just start with, 2025. This election, obviously, that was bringing the question to the table, though. But we have to go back to 2020, right?
Yeah, or I would just say, I would just say, contextualize. What do you mean by the 92%?
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. So the 92% is the Black women voting bloc. That was the percentage of Black women who voted for Kamala Harris, or you could frame it this way: voted against Donald Trump, however you want to, wherever you land, people land differently on that. Well, I voted against, and then I voted. Okay, fine. Wherever you land, these are you voted for Kamala Harris, or against Donald Trump, then you were within, and you're a Black woman. You fell within that percentage of 92% of Black women who.
That's a huge demographic block. I mean, that's a huge that percentage.
Yeah, sure.
Is. I mean, I don't know. I would need to compare it to other
election cycles.
Other election cycles.
Yeah.
With that being said, Black women vote in political solidarity a lot. I mean, like that's kind of how Black women vote. But there's something about this election that over 90% mark. The definitiveness of that. Like, what's the assignment? Like the show up, get into itness of it.
Sure.
That makes it, and I would say that was the case also for just Black voters across the board, with Black men at about 78%.
Yeah, Black men at 78. So
these are overwhelming.
Give a shout out to the brothers for that. Yeah.
Overwhelming majorities, in ways that are larger than other groups for sure. So, so online T-shirts, pins, clothing, reference point, 92% is. There's not a day that has gone by since the election that I have not heard a reference, a shout out, like "Good morning" to the 92% and the 92% only. There's not a day.
The rest of y'all get the day you voted for.
Yeah. I mean, 92% has almost taken on a life of its own, almost like a new sorority. It feels, it is, that's why I said, like, let's explain it, because it feels like insider language on one level. It's kind of a nod of like, hey, like, it's crazy out here. But I'm 92%, you know.
Yeah. It's like the secret passageway to Freedom Land, you know.
I know. It's like, what's the code word? 92%. Yeah.
Yeah. It does feel like a little secret, like, okay, y'all, you did. I ain't in the D9, but I am in the D92%. And it is so curious that the D9 is no longer associated with witchcraft. Isn't it so interesting?
Yeah. Oh, you mean
that's no longer witches?
The BGLOs, the Black Greek letter
stirring your brew.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Well, yeah, I feel like that may have been politically motivated.
Weird.
I know.
Interesting. Did we have an episode talking about this?
I think we did. Yeah. They liked it. They wanted that disinformation.
Interesting.
Ate it up.
So the 92%. So a lot of so after surviving the first Trump regime, right, and seeing what happened, you know,
everything was fine.
Right?
Everything was fine.
You know, Joe Biden, President Joe Biden, and
nothing to see here.
Vice President Kamala Harris.
Nothing. Nothing historical about that.
Nothing at all. took office. And you know, from their term from 2021 and on. We know that I know that people want to rewrite history for propagandist reasons. But the insurrection happened on January 6, 2021.
That's not what that was.
Do not forget.
That's not what that was.
You know,
that's not what
that attempt at a hostile takeover.
But no one was scaling the wall. No one was peeing on desks.
My goodness.
No one was stealing papers.
People died.
No one was like chanting. No one had to hide. I don't know what you're talking about. That didn't happen.
In fear of their lives.
Your lying eyes said that. Your lying ears heard that.
The gaslighting.
It's a lie.
It's the lies for us.
It's the playing in one's face of 2025.
It's the game. It's the gaslighting for us. So people died. And Black women being how we do. And the Black man came through, so I'm not trying to, minimize, but we Black.
But this is a table built by for Black women. Carry on.
So we emphasize. We saw that and we knew. I mean, first of all, we're aghast that the man can run again.
I know.
Appalled, that this man could run again after being convicted.
Of 762.
However many? Oh my gosh!
At some
over 30.
When you're over 30, it's like
felony convictions.
But that wasn't but that didn't happen.
I think
that wasn't true. That wasn't true.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And so anyway, seeing all of that, we were like, oh my goodness, this man is running in against VP Kamala Harris, who was
well, that's not even how that. But yeah, that's
launched into the race. First of all,
yeah, I mean, she was only in the race for like 90 days.
That's right.
She was
giving an impossible
that entire story is the poster child of what sociologists talk about and what happens for particularly Black women of color in leadership roles, that by the time they are pulled into things that they are qualified for, they're like, the house is on fire, do you want to decorate it?
With this bucket.
It's just like, what is happening? Yeah. So it is, and then take the blame when it's not. It works out as it was going to work out. So
that's right.
Anywho, we saw that.
So we saw that.
I saw that.
We saw that.
Won't forget it.
I think she acted as, in the words of a paraphrase of Toni Morrison's, quote, she acted as beautifully as she could under impossible circumstances.
This is very Toni Morrison Lee
It's-
Staten.
yeah.
Very Toni
That's my
Morrison
patron
Lee Saint.
You know,
I
love me
often
some
think
other
about
Toni.
how she would just so appropriately convey the disgust of it all right now.
Oh,
She's just,
we miss her, but she's
yeah,
better
very
off than we are.
Morrison Lee-ness.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yes.
But she acted so beautifully under some very impossible circumstances. I thought she ran a great campaign.
I mean,
All
she didn't
things
cuss nobody out.
considered.
I mean, like, this is,
'Cause I can tell you.
I'm not advocating for such per se,
However.
but I am saying, like, when I think about
been
the name,
snapping.
when I think about the name calling, the sexual harassment, the denigration, the racism, the
Jezebel
bigotry.
stereotypes and things.
Oh yeah.
She suffered.
The religious malpractice. When I think about all of those layers,
She suffered.
yeah,
She suffered.
it's just nasty.
So don't say nothing about her to me no more. She'd have earned her stripes, so you can say a word to me about her.
I will tell you
She
what.
ain't perfect. I'm not saying
Yeah,
that.
sure.
I'm not ascribing perfection.
I'm certain.
Just saying.
And we have differences
earned my
politically.
respect.
Yes. I'm not even at a time to give this. If people don't have to give a disclaimer
Yeah, you're
about
right.
Donald Trump,
Yeah, you're
I'm
right.
not giving a disclaimer
I mean, you want to talk about
Harris.
Grace under fire as a person? Kamala. I mean, just so poised,
know.
so clear, very kind,
Yeah.
gracious. I'm like, woo!
Yeah.
You know Jesus. Good.
Yeah.
You're like, y'all don't clap for me because y'all didn't clap in that booth. Don't play with me. Do not play with me.
Listen,
That's exactly what would happen.
you know-
Did you clap in that booth? Don't clap for me in this theater. Don't play with me.
You know, this is an interesting rabbit trail. But in some ways, I felt like I began to understand Michelle Obama in a different light.
Listen.
Because I do believe Michelle Obama, I think of her as a person who, I don't know this woman, but analysis of her is a person who seems like she puts a lot of work in self-management, self-soothing, and self-image.
Yes.
And there was something about this last go-round where, I don't know, Michelle
said,
For real, Michelle was like,
From
I'm not
Southside.
going.
No.
And
Well,
don't ask
over
me
there,
no
I ain't going.
questions. I mean, it was, I found it, I enjoyed that, Michelle.
Have we seen Michelle since?
we have not
she's
had
in her done era.
I mean, no, that's not true. I saw a
I feel
picture
like-
of her and Barack somewhere
Okay.
that did not look like America. It looked like they were, I don't know. It could have been Hawaii. It looked like they were once again on vacation. They look like they're Benjamin Button-ing, going back in time.
Okay.
She had her braids,
Yes.
knocked rock to the side.
That's right.
Yeah,
Hmm.
they're done with us.
All right. Enjoy that rabbit trail.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we came out and we did, Black women, the 92% did what they needed to do. Okay, they knew.
Yeah.
They,
For whatever
many of us
reasons
knew.
that was,
Yes.
they felt that the other option was unacceptable.
Yeah,
Because I don't
untenable.
know, they thought maybe there might be a governance problem, there might be a loss of Medicaid and Medicare. They thought that it could create national and global instability.
Possible plantation
They
madness.
thought that my goodness, it seems like they thought things that are actually happening right now.
Wow, prophets.
Are they prophets? Are the 92% prophets?
Prophets.
Or do they just choose to read? I mean,
Or actually believe what he said he would do.
readers are leaders. Let me just say that. So we tell our students,
on.
readers are leaders. And maybe they just chose to be like, okay, well, let me just take him at what he's saying.
At face value.
Because that's what they said they was going to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're not pulling out. They had a whole book.
This malicious integrity.
They published it.
They published a book. They published a
They told us
book.
the plan. They told us the plan.
They did. It was very Disney villain. It was like, and I'm going to get you. And then the heroes are supposed to stop it
That's right.
when the villain tells like what's going to happen. But they was like, no.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, Black women went into the booth, voted, you know.
They did.
For dear sister Kamala Harris, we did our best.
Did.
And then
Did. They
the
did.
electoral map kept turning red.
Yeah.
Red.
Blood.
It was like, wow, red rum. The red rum. What's going on here?
It was.
What is
Anyway.
And we were very confident. I will say, because the Black women were mobilizing. There were Zoom calls, you know, there are all types of Zoom calls, every other ethnic group too. Asians, white for Kamala, white women for Kamala. I mean, down the gamut. But there was a lot. So there was a lot of momentum. There was it really seemed like she was going to win.
There are people who have concerns about the election.
Exactly.
I won't get unnecessarily conspiratorial now, but yeah. I mean, do I think that people will not accept the leadership of women and women of color? I know that.
Absolutely.
I know that. And the data knows. I know that. But do I think that what happened was inconsistent with the momentum and fundraising?
Yeah. There is something amiss.
Something, and I mean, but nobody who we're seeing currently would ever do anything amiss to ever gain power in any way.
I mean, come on.
Anyway.
They're full of integrity. Unfortunately, Kamala Harris was defeated. And I believe that Black women also took a very deep psychological hit, that really sent a message to us like, man, y'all really hate us. Like, because she stood as not just a representative, a Black woman. However, if you jive with her politics or not, you ain't got to agree with everybody's politics. But anyway, I'm tired.
Yeah.
But
some of the particular tropes about her character tapped into
her qualification.
Character and qualifications tapped into. I can't even get into the qualifications part. I cannot even. I won't. I don't have the strength to go there.
One of the 8%ers had the nerve to tell me, baby, that's when the conversation had to end. It's just, all of those things. It was just like, wow, I really despise us.
Well, I was saying that the character assassinations are directly tied to racist tropes about Black women.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that is part of what made it so triggering and disturbing. To have people say out their mouths, "Oh, well, she's where she is because she must have used her body."
So cruel.
Yeah.
So
like, I mean, I remember seeing
so dehumanizing.
I remember seeing somebody who I think would consider themselves to be a devout Christian.
Oh, of course.
I'm like, wow, like. Over and over and over again, the tropes that line up with the dehumanizing rhetoric towards Black women. So I think Black women, regardless of what your political orientation about government size and operation, to not have had some kind of vicarious trauma.
Yes, that's right.
From that.
Bring out the terms. Thank you. I was like, I just think that we felt like we was hurt.
Yeah, it's vicarious. I mean, same thing. Ditto. Vicarious trauma. Ditto. Vicarious trauma. Yes. And it wasn't because like I would check every box in all the ways with any political leader. I'm too quirky to ever. I'm too quirky to ever be a political leader.
No way.
However, the disrespect was just gross. It was gross. Nasty. And to have somebody hate you so much that they would put themselves in harm's way, that's a certain kind of hate.
Yeah.
That's a certain kind of hate.
Well, if you don't love yourself, you can't love your neighbor. You got to love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's what Jesus said.
The people think they love themselves.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, but they don't. But anyway, so because of that, because of the vicarious trauma, just the deep pain.
Yeah.
I feel like betrayal in some ways, I would say.
Hoodwinked,
disillusionment,
bamboozled,
led astray, rock landing on us. A lot.
Indeed.
We felt all those things. The 92, a lot of the rhetoric online, November 6th and on, and still to this day, is like, y'all got it. 92% is chilling. We resting. We just watching the world burn because we tried.
Yeah.
We did our best.
Well, and then the different AI or artistic images that show literally Black women all together, like sipping their mimosa while things catch on fire. Yeah.
Just because y'all ain't got
or something stronger than a mimosa.
Because y'all ain't got no do right. And so,
that's magical thinking.
Yeah. So this is the question. It's just, should the 92%, rest or resist? To rest or resist? Can we do both? What does that look like? For us, I think that there is, on the rest side, I think there's just deep fatigue. I don't know, at least, and you can speak to this. I don't know Black women leaders that were not
Mhm.
booked and busy doing so much work.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Some sort of electoral work, whether it's just about voter participation, voter engagement,
Mhm.
trying to stave off voter disenfranchisement, right?
Sure.
To people expressly campaigning,
Sure.
for Kamala or some range, of some
Mhm.
sort of political work. Black women were tapped in and locked in,
Mhm.
on that. And so I think part of it is that there's just a fatigue of just like Black women work to the bone for this. And it
Mhm.
just didn't go the way that many had envisioned, and I
Mhm.
think that there's just, all that work you felt like, man, was it in vain? I think there's
Mhm.
a sense of that, man. Was that in vain? Like that we did all of that, and like once again they chose this
Yeah.
wicked man
Every time he's against a woman, he wins.
every time.
Yes. Women with law degrees, women with
Right.
all
Political
kinds of
experience. Yeah.
governmental
Government.
experience.
Yep.
I think the country is sexist.
Really?
Mm,
My
feels that way.
goodness.
Yeah, and so I think back
And
to
misogynist.
yes,
Misogynor, of
yes.
course. Yeah.
But I think that, and again,
Mm.
I think you can say that and also say like, yeah, there were dynamics at play that
For
people
sure.
were frustrated with in terms, even people who are truly like on the left Democrat types, right? That they were
For
frustrated with.
sure.
I just, to me, this was not a partisan conversation. This was a
We're past
global security conversation.
that. Whatever do you mean?
I mean,
We're the safest we've ever been.
we
Take
are not
that back.
safe. I'm
We are not.
I am safe in the center of God's will. Amen.
We are not
Amen.
safe.
But on a political social framework, no. This is
Absolutely.
no. We have problems.
No,
We have
yeah.
problems. So, but I think that people. I think also there were Black women who began to hope,
Yes.
who began to dream a little. They thought about what it would look like.
Initially, I wasn't sure she
Yeah.
could pull it out.
It
Took me some time.
Yeah, well,
to actually.
they
I was
thought
like,
about
okay.
they thought about wow,
I must. Yeah.
if or when she wins, what will this mean for our daughters? What will this mean for women internationally?
Yeah.
Um,
It's true.
I think that there is a sense in which there was dreaming happening. So the vicarious trauma in terms of the disrespect that she received and how it impacted people. But also I think for those who begin to dream a little bit, who took the risk of dreaming. Because I think when we think about the Black Christian, specifically the Black Christian female voting bloc, is very pragmatic. It's a very pragmatic voting bloc. It is a voting bloc. It's a voting bloc that would say like, oh yeah, I like this person over here, but I also know that such and such groups are not going to pick that person. So
we gonna go.
Let me go this way. Like we saw that happen between Biden and Bernie Sanders in South Carolina. And there were people of certain generations and political stripes that were like diehard Bernie people.
However,
and then there were particularly older Black folks in the South were like, oh no,
much more pragmatic.
They're like, guys, we've been doing this a long time. Like that's not going to work at the end of the day.
Yeah.
People will debate that. Somebody's hearing me now, like, because Bernie got some people now. Bernie got some people. Okay, help us, Bernie. I'll take anybody help right now. Help us, Bernie. Help us, whoever want to help
Bernie's
us.
Trying.
I mean, anybody.
Bernie's trying.
But I think that is a reminder of just how emotionally caught up people were in with the hope and possibilities of what could be. And that very pragmatic demographic bloc does not vote with this idea. They don't. The Black Christian women voting bloc is not like, let me vote my dreams. No, they vote their needs, and they vote the needs of other people.
Others, the generations to come too. Yeah.
Period. They are like, hey, okay, well, who's going to be able to continue to have health care? Who's going to be able to eat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's going to enable us to, maybe buy a home, maybe.
Very practical, very practical. And so that idealism is a luxury and
That's
a
a
privilege.
luxury we do not have.
This idea of perfect candidates is a luxury and a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Black folks have never voted for anybody
perfect candidate.
who they did not have issues with in terms of their inadequacy on issues of racial equity, including Barack Obama.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we have no candidates around that.
Exactly.
So every voting decision is one of what's going to buy us time and what can get us a little bit closer. It is a chess game.
Yeah.
So even in the midst of that pragmatic thinking for survival purposes, I think there were some people who started to dream.
Mm-hmm.
And the pain of having the dream deflated, of having the dream stomped on, I think is an extra layer of hurt.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and I would be straight up. I mean, I'm one of those people for sure, you know, like your hopes are dashed. Because it took a while for me to, you know, to get to that part. Part of it was just a fear, really, for, you know, VP Harris's safety.
Why would you be afraid? Clearly, no one hates her. No one hates her.
Death threats. I was like,
I mean, jeepers. Why would we think that would happen?
This nation gonna elect a Black woman as president? Okay, all right. I love to see it. I don't know. I guess it's possible. I said, we had a Black president before. Okay, maybe it could happen. Look, it took a lot of my own internal dialogue.
I know you did that.
There.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone in that. I think
it took
a lot of people.
Okay, I'm gonna roll with it. Yeah. I'm not sure, but it took me a while. It wasn't until probably I feel like toward the end that I was like, okay, this could really happen. Seeing the momentum, seeing the thing. Like, okay, maybe this could really happen. Maybe this could really happen. And then of course having your hopes dashed, you know, again, and you're just tired, right?
Yeah.
And you're counting the cost of, oh my goodness, what does it mean to be under a Trump regime again? You know, so you're defeated, you're deflated, you're terrified, you know, of what's to come. Yeah. Even though it hasn't yet, you know,
but there are people who were afraid of her win too, meaning like they wanted her to win, but there were people who were afraid that her win would.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's
people would respond ridiculously.
Yeah. So there's exactly either way, right? There was going to be some. So so there were some concerns, you know, on both sides, and so there was a sense in which I was just like tired. I was like, y'all got it, or you don't got it.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm out. I'm tired. I'm worn out. Like, you know, like. It is. How can you save a country that don't want to be saved? It's just like, y'all don't want to be saved. It's like, what are you gonna do? Like, just rest, man. Just rest.
It's like the fighting, drowning person. Like, you're not in a position not to not be rescued.
It is just like Stockholm syndrome is strong in this country.
No, but not saved by you.
But that's no.
I would rather. And this is the reality. This is what it is. I would rather this place that I claim to love more than you could possibly care about. I'd rather see it burn down than take help from you. That is another thread.
Or I'd rather die. You know, it's almost it's like the black doctor. It's like the black doctor that walks into the room with the white patient, and the white person's like, wait, you the doctor? And they refuse the help of the black doctor or the black nurse. And they actually die.
I mean, that's a lot of hate.
That's a lot. Idolatry, right? The idolatry, you know, of white supremacy. It is deep. It's because our idols mean to kill us, right?
It's so much hate.
So the question is for us, do we rest or do we resist? Particularly if we think about it from a spiritual standpoint, the spiritual warfare, we think about the idolatry, the many balls, you know, and just, you know, and just erected, you know, in the land all over, you know, like how I actually think that if we think about it from that aspect as Black women, because we know Black women, you know, are still yet holding on to the or unchanging hand of God, or God's holding on to us, you know, I do think that when you think about it from that aspect, I don't think it's an either or. I actually think I think it can actually be a both and.
Yeah.
I don't think that we have a choice but to resist. And I think that resistance can look in a lot of different ways, which we'll talk about. But I think we have to be able to see the ways in which idols mean to kill us, even if we ourselves don't bow down to those idols.
Yeah.
They require blood.
Sure.
every time they always require
Idols require blood sacrifices. Yeah.
They do,
Mhm.
and they
Mhm.
require blood sacrifices of innocence.
Mhm.
So peep that. So if any of it, again, we talked about the social contract.
Yeah.
We are all in it. I know we don't love that, but we are all in it.
Yeah.
And so how do we resist being put on the altar, as a sacrifice to political expediency and fascism and the authoritarianism? How do we resist that when we are in the bullseye, when we're in the crosshairs, of this regime, right? Many of us losing jobs straight up, getting, how can I say, stalking emails from Doge, right? I have family members right now that are just on edge, getting emails, getting harassed for doing their work.
Right.
We have a whole regime that is wiping out the Black middle class. I think it's about 20% that I heard. Last time I heard, y'all could check. About 20% of government workers are Black. That's just Black people.
Yeah.
That doesn't include our Latina brothers and sisters. It doesn't include our Asian brothers and sisters. I mean, that's a significant number. And those are good paying jobs, that help to ensure, of course, now the Black middle class has already been eroding. But if those jobs go, and if they are given or laid off, fired, then what happens to the Black middle class? What are we going to do? You know what I mean? So when we say we resting, are we resting to our detriment, or are we going to resist? And what is that resistance going to look like? I guess I got more questions than answers, because I was like, we got to do something.
Listen, and while you continue to create those questions, we're going to keep making that happen, and take a pause right now.
Let's break. Yeah.
We're going to take a little bit of break, but we will be right back with questions, maybe a little bit of answers as we talk about both rest and resistance.
That's right.
Our NAACP Image Award nominated book, Truth Table: Black Women's Musings on Life, Love, and Liberation, is making waves and shifting culture. I closed this book feeling like I had just partaken in a multi-course meal, filled with grace and the courage to carry on. And I believe you'll finish this book feeling the same way. Morgan Harper Nichols, artist and poet. Buy Truth Table: Black Women's Musings on Life, Love, and Liberation at our website or wherever books are sold.
And we are back at the table, still resisting the 92%. To rest or resist? So, I said that we can do both. I think that we can do both. But what does it look like? What do you think our resistance has to look like now under this regime? What I mean is Black women were they were pounding the pavement, right?
Some were.
I was canvassing.
Many were.
Listen,
people have different levels of
engagement.
Political engagement. That is for sure.
Yeah,
yes.
people have different. But
we live in an unusual world. But
we do.
Yes,
so unprecedented. And so so what does that mean? For the women that went hard. The Black women that went hard in the paint
to try to save us.
Right, so hard in the paint. What does their resistance have to look like now? Or not have to, but they can choose to pick it up or not. They got a choice. But what, we live in a free-ish country. So what does that resistance have to look like? Or ought it look like this time?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I dare not speak in oughts.
Maybe.
To Black
What could it possibly
women.
What it could have possibly looked like?
I can speak for myself.
Yeah.
I would say that we have to have mindful resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Mindfulness resistance, knowing that we have limited resources across the board. We have limited emotional resources, physical health resources, economic resources. And I don't say that to despair. I'm saying that almost like if you're going to have a dinner party, you go to your pantry, I do anyway, and see, well, actually I'm supposed to do this, but I forget to do this. I'm supposed to check so I don't keep buying the same things over and over again, but I buy several cans of spaghetti sauce, but I digress. The point
We're moving differently in 2025 though.
Hello. You're supposed to go and take stock of what you have. And I would say that if we are honest in taking stock of what we have, we recognize that we've got some limitations.
For sure.
But That's not a point of despair. It's just reality. You can't be a good strategist
Yes.
if you don't know your resources.
That's right.
You have to be able to define the problem and the layers of the problems. You have to be able to understand what are the resources that you have and how to get them. You have to do some asset mapping. You have to be able to figure out who else is connected to the same issue that may be able to get on board, co-belligerents, all the things, right?
Yeah.
So, but even what I'm saying right now requires some clarity of thought. It requires a level of cognitive wellness to not be so revved up in our nervous system that we cannot think and strategize for good. So strategizing is like a thriving disposition. Because of what is happening, we're in a survival mode. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn is what we're seeing across the with many of us. That's what I'm seeing. And which is why I think that reaction, which was an expression of self-agency, when so much has been taken away. When so much has been taken away and you've been disrespected, an expression of agency is saying, like, I'm off this train. Even if in reality we're not off the train because we live in the country. You know, if I need a particular medication and now the price of it is impacted, I can say that I'm not dealing with this mess
but
anymore.
It's dealing with you.
It's dealing with me. So, or it's dealing with my mother. It's dealing with my family. It's dealing with people that go to my church. Like again, a part of our Christian calling is that we have to care.
For my livelihood. Yeah.
We actually have to care about, we have to care about people. So I think my approach is to think about this idea of mindful resistance, which means, okay, recognizing what's in my pantry, my limited resources, but knowing that God is more than enough. But laying those things on the table and thinking about, okay, what can I contribute based on what I have, who I am, connections, assets, you name it. And I do think, even for the purpose of both mental health as well as resistance, this is a helpful exercise.
Yes.
One of the things that abusive structures, systems, and people do is they convince people that this is the best it's going to be.
Oh, yeah.
This is
and that they can't do nothing.
There's nothing that can be done. There's nothing that can be done. And I do believe in some instances of radical acceptance as a psychologist. Yeah, I get all that. But I actually think that there are some very practical things that people can do. And we talked about this the other day in the group chat with two of our buddies. And I was like, even if, I can't stop Elon Musk from musking it up, like whatever he's doing right now. He's whatever
tearing through the government like a muskrat.
It's mayhem. It's mayhem that's happening. But I don't believe that I, as an individual person, don't know how to necessarily do that. But what can I do? I can certainly pray. And I can pray in the tradition of the prophets. I can pray in the tradition of Jesus.
Yes.
So minimally, that is what I must do. And I'm also called and commanded to do it. I also can be well acquainted with my local political leaders, whether I like them or not, but those who function exactly on the national level. I need to at least draft a mean letter. I can at least do that. I mean, by mean, I don't mean like mean. I mean like a serious letter.
There's an app called 5 Calls.
Exactly.
Where you can,
Exactly.
Practically.
So minimally,
you can do
just
that.
as a testimony to be able to say, I want to communicate, this should not be so. We have to at least do that. We have to at least do a this should not be so statement. And I don't know, get it on auto repeat every week. Every Thursday is my way of saying to a political leader, this should not be so. This should not be so. I need to care about my local community. I need to learn at least one issue that is going to impact people's lives based on what's happening in this administration, and think about how I could use my voice, my resources, my prayers to be a blessing to someone here and now.
Yeah, maybe going to a town hall.
100%. And so there are things no one person can fix it all or even understands it all. It's very complicated. But complexity and limitation cannot be an excuse to take away our agency.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Or we'll crumble. We know we'll crumble under the pressure, under the exhaustion, but we will also crumble under giving over our hope.
Yes.
That is another surefire way to crumble. And that's the one I'm just not willing to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And our hope is in a person. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think for my part, I think that the resistance has to, I've said this, before, in our first resistance series.
What do you mean? We've done this before? Have we talked about this before? You guys talk about politics too much. Well, we would like to stop.
We love it.
We want to stop, actually.
That's the thing. But we're in the middle of a hostile government takeover.
That's what the song
I'll
says.
never forget when I told somebody, I was like, yeah, we're in the middle of a coup. Oh, I don't know if it's all of that, blah, blah, blah. And then that was the same week Joe started sending those stocky emails to all right.
The stalking.
Y'all gonna learn. So, you know what I mean? One way or another, y'all gonna learn to listen to Black women. I don't know when. Anywho, I'm getting back to my point about resistance. For step one, listen to Black women. Two, I do think that there is, I talk about resistance begins in the mind. Not in the same way that Christina's talking about mindfulness resistance, but really there is so much propaganda now.
Yeah.
We see how this regime has put a clamp down on particular news outlets, like for instance, AP, Associated Press, because they've been wanting to use the historical name of the Gulf of Mexico instead of saying the Gulf of America, that Trump renamed. So the absurdity is too much,
Playing in our faces.
How are comedians gonna top the absurdity?
They're speechless.
That might be putting them out of a job too. Anyway, but the ways in which they are now selecting who will be in the White House press pool, right? Because DC journalists shouldn't have the what do they say? Carte blanche on that, yet they're picking them. Anyway, there's a lot of propaganda, right? We see the freedom of the press being under attack. So that means we're going to have even much more propaganda than we experienced the first, go round. And so I think we have got to be, as people of God, we have to be lovers of truth, right? Telling the truth about ourselves to God, confessing sins to God, right? But also telling the truth about what's happening, what's factual, right. What is true, right. And being discerning about what is true, right? So for instance, I saw, this is just, I don't want to say it's innocuous, but I'll just lift it up as an example. There was a lot of these infographic news clips. It's a problem, y'all. We got to check the sources. We have got to do the extra Google, however you feel, or internet research, to find out an actual legitimate source for some of those news. Yeah,
primary sources matter.
Primary sources matter, right? So for instance, there was a little news graphic that was going around that the Eagles declining, invite. They don't want to go to the White House or whatever. And yet it actually turned out that actually was not true. Like, you know what I mean? That actually was reported that they actually would, actually go, to the White House. And so I think we have to be, I lift that up because we have to be people that will take the extra step to find, and we have to do that so much more now.
Yeah.
Because of the ways in which, unfortunately, our press is compromised now and is going to be inundated with a lot of propaganda. So we have to be a people that resist lies, that resist myths, which is why I say resistance begins in the mind. And we have to renew our mind, right? We have to think in alignment with God. We have the mind of Christ. And I think it is through prayer, that the Holy Spirit can help us to discern what is true and what is false, help us to agree with God about not only our sin, but the sins that are happening in our world that are impacting us internally and then also externally. So we have to be a people that really do love truth at our inner core, even when that truth cuts us. And it ain't really truth if it ain't really cutting us, because we ain't always right. And so I think that's important. But I also think that our resistance can look like, in addition to writing letters and or engaging the 5 Calls app, and finding out what's happening, being hyper local. I believe that's all good. But I think that our resistance can also look like play. It can also look like rest, not an arrest in a nihilistic or fatalistic type of way, like y'all got it, I'm done. You know what I mean? Which was an understandable, response, to the disrespect we experience. But I think that it can look like play. What does it look like to try to take up a hobby, something that we find joy, take pleasure in? I think that's kind of what it means too, right? Because part of what oppression is and what the oppressors want is for us to get into this loop and spiral of despair and feel like nothing can ever change. Nothing will ever be different. It will always be like this, and the truth of the matter, it may get worse, y'all. It may, but all the more reason why we need to resist, through play, through finding pleasure, through joy in ways that are glorifying to God, edifying to our own bodies and spirit, right? And invite others into that form of play. I think that's something that Black women don't get to always enter into. I think that's something we've been trying to cultivate. And I think this season we'll be able to talk about the ways that we've been cultivating that at Truth's Table. But I think that resistance, it has to be a both. And I know for me, my activist side is just, I will hit the streets. I do all that, although I've been started to tamp down and retire from that last year. I was like, y'all got it. Y'all need to start going, Auntie's in her auntie era now, but I'll hit the streets if necessary. But I don't feel a call under this regime. I just don't feel that call, but I think there's other ways to resist. For instance, the boycotts, that are happening, right? The economic boycotts that are happening of organizations, companies that did away with their DEI and are downsizing, by the way.
Sure. For sure.
And downsizing. Okay.
They're definitely,
many of our peers,
for sure,
are impacted. Yourself included. Let's name that. Impacted, by the impact of that work on DEI. Even if you don't do DEI work explicitly, anything that lives in the realm of race or racism or you're all impacted.
Yeah. Yes.
Everyone. So, anywho, so what does it look like to participate in that, right? To really take stock of like, man, can I cancel my subscription to this big retailer that I engage often? You know what I mean? Can I, and you have to take stock for it. And you have to do, and I think we need to give grace for people. We're all at different places with that. Yeah. And everybody, you have to do what you can.
The comfort is addictive.
And we've been lulled to sleep in this.
And I think we've, yes. And I don't think,
absolutely,
when I look at what is being put on the table in terms of even some of the economic, the business boycotts, in the grand scheme of things.
Listen, I know.
These are not big ass.
They're not.
When I think about the Montgomery bus boycott,
listen,
I'm thinking about people who had to get to work
by foot.
Yes. For months.
Miles for months.
Yes.
381 days?
In the heat.
It was a lot.
Yes.
It was a long time.
And you're talking about Jim Crow. You're talking about blatant on the nose threats and violence and lynchings.
That's right.
And so, again, and everyone does not participate in that. We know this, that social justice and social change is pushed by a small group of people who said, I'm not going to stop.
That's right.
Who take it on, who
put
the weight on their back for other people. And then a generation later, people are like, that would have been me. Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So I am grateful for those types of people.
And those examples.
I do think it's important that we take stock to see if we have the capacity, the love, the resiliency, the emotional health to be in this new number of those people for this generation.
That's right.
And I just think that, we don't know yet what is going to be asked of us.
We don't.
And so I think people should get their houses in order. That's another sobering thing. I mean, maybe that makes people anxious, but I think people need to get their house in order.
I've been ringing that bell.
And I mean that in very practical ways. Yeah. I mean, like, get your giving in order, get your faith community commitments in order, get your relationships in order, get your priorities in order. There's something that you want to get done, you should do it. Get forgiveness in order.
Get your doctor's appointments done now.
Get things
everything
in order.
Done. Yeah.
Where forms that need to be filled out. All of your important things together. And I don't want to say this to garner unnecessary anxiety, but I think that there's enough information to say that something is amiss, and so we need to do the practical work, but also like the emotive and spiritual stuff. Get your house in order.
Oh,
Get your
yeah,
house in
that-
order.
You know,
I mean,
let's
like,
talk about that real quick.
like
Yeah,
reconciling with
Let's talk
people,
about that.
forgiving people,
Yeah.
repenting, letting go of stuff, asking the Lord to search your heart.
That's right.
That is asking the
We
Lord,
don't
how
know.
did I contribute to where we are
To the
right now?
demise. Yeah. You mean wait,
Politically, socially, morally, religiously?
Yeah. How did I contribute?
Yeah. Did I speak when I should have been silent?
Mm.
Was I silent when I should have spoke?
Come on. Yep. Yeah.
You know, could I have leaned more in with love?
Mm-hmm.
Should I have set up a boundary sooner?
Hello.
How did selfishness, how did comfort, how did my idols, how did my lack of forgiveness, Lord, search my heart?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the only house that we can actually clean.
Yeah, it's our own.
I mean, that's the starting point. So I think to continue to maintain the humility to do that is going to be important.
Yeah, I like them. Yeah, the self-interrogation
Mhm.
and self-examination and asking the Spirit,
Yeah.
to search us. I think there is tomorrow. It has always been true that tomorrow is never promised.
That's
always been true. It has always been true that each day has enough trouble of its own. It's like Jesus told us, don't worry about tomorrow now, because
Listen,
because today got
focus.
Today got enough trouble of its own. So let's just
Focus.
That's for sure. It's coming more clear to me that that's been more true. That's even more true. The way my anxiety's set up, that's my passage there. So I'm like, yeah, my God, because there's a sense in which I just feel like, my. I don't know. Like I told, full disclosure, I told Christy, I was like, well, because the FAA and all the things that's been happening. And I was like, I don't know if we will have another opportunity to record in person again this year. I hope so, but I don't know. Okay, because we actually don't know what's going to happen.
Sure.
We really don't know if we will be able to move in the ways that we move.
Mm-hmm.
How we normally do, where we hop on a plane and we get in our cars and we go to the store, right? When we talk about our sacrifices, right, from these boycotts, it's like, all right, y'all. So we probably need to go to, I don't know, maybe 3 stores to get what we normally would get from Target. I think we could do that, y'all. Our ancestors did a whole lot more.
And then
than
also answer the question of what do I need?
What do I need?
What do I need versus what do I want?
Yes.
Which is a good emotional housekeeping question. Anyway,
Yeah.
By the way, we get to have once. I'm not anti once.
Yeah.
I like to get my nails done.
Yeah.
But the question is, can we distinguish between a need and a want, and how could that help us to be much
live more wisely,
resilient and justice doing in this moment if we could get our house in order and distinguish between those things.
Make us wise, oh Lord. That's really to make us wise. I think when I was telling her that, I was like, I don't know that we'll be able to just move here, do that, but hop here, hop there. Like, I hope, but I don't know. And so I think that trying to live soberly and with a lot of wisdom, numbering our days, thinking about, I think that's part of the resistance too. Is living sober lives. Living sober lives, knowing that things really can change in an instant.
Yeah.
For good or for bad.
Yeah.
Because we leave open for that imagination.
Listen,
for good or for bad.
Please shock me, Lord.
Hello. Shock
This
me
is a
with your
daily
miracles.
prayer.
Come on, God.
Hey.
Show us how good we can get, God.
Hey.
But so for the good, let's leave room for that. But seriously, there can be sudden changes, in the bad direction or in the good direction. So I think we always have to be ready. I think that's kind of sort of the part of the resistance. It's resisting this and I know everybody's coping as best as they can.
Sure.
But this desire to just, I'm gonna live in my own little bubble and blah blah blah. Ignorance is bliss. I don't know, y'all. Ignorance is dangerous. I don't think it's bliss. It's really not. It's actually very dangerous right now. With what we've got going on, the lack of information we're getting and the disinformation and the malinformation is very dangerous to live in our own little secluded little bubble, not knowing what's happening, y'all.
Yeah.
Literally at my big age, I'm about next week. I got my doctor's appointments. I got them ducks in a row. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. I'm going to make sure and verify with my doctor that I do probably have to get another measles booster. A disease that was eradicated since, I don't know, time for a long time. But now because of the rise of it, and now that there was already a death in Texas, that's something that we have to do. So your ignorance will not save you. Neither will your silence. And so I guess my plea and our plea to our sisters, our fellow 92 percenters, is yes, rest, but also resist. And there's a way that we can engage restful resistance, that doesn't require that we lay down our lives. I don't believe that Jesus called us to lay down our lives for America.
Oh, that's for sure.
I didn't see that in the text.
That's for sure.
I didn't see that in the text.
That is for sure.
Okay, Jesus died for us, so we ain't have to do all of that.
But
we will take up
I feel
cross.
very confident that Jesus
him.
has not called us to
We'll
do
get
that.
some splinters.
Yeah.
We
are called to love our neighbors
yes,
sacrificially.
absolutely.
That's for sure.
But but let's take up the mantle of restful resistance.
That's right.
That will look different for everyone. But ask God to show you what that looks like. But we need you. We need each other. That's how we got here in the first place, right? People believing, those who did not were not numbered among the 92% or the 78% and the others, not believing that we belong to one another.
That's right.
And we do.
Oh,
we absolutely do belong.
I think that's a spot on point. And I would say, even as we think about like the medical stuff that you raise and financial pieces and relational pieces that we just need to get in order.
That's right.
Get it in order.
Yeah.
That the most important thing that people need to get in order is their relationship with the Lord.
Time is winding up.
So we know that Truth's Table for some people is a it's like a
proxy.
It's a proxy.
Yeah.
Or, people have had real issues, legitimate issues with the church or churches or all the yes.
Us too. We've been hurt.
I got stories.
We've been hurt.
stories
you
that
don't even know.
Stories I'll never write about.
Baby, don't even know.
Never write about. Because every story isn't for everybody. Some stuff we do get to keep to ourselves. If that's your thing.
For sure.
But these dynamics that we're experiencing, it would be foolish. It would be foolish to be like, nah, I'm not going to get closer to the Lord. Nah.
I don't understand that.
This is not
the time.
Maybe tomorrow. No, today is the day
of salvation.
Like use the moment. I mean, when I think about the pandemic and I think about,
I don't know what it will take.
Just so many different.
What will it take?
Unprecedented moments.
I don't understand it. I don't.
Please use that as a place of prayer,
if
as
you
a place
hear the
of
voice
getting
of the
closer.
Lord, harden not your heart.
Yes.
This is not the time, y'all.
Forgive.
This is not the time. You have.
I can't emphasize it. I just want to name that because I do think that for some people that is the gap. We are hurting ourselves spiritually because we think that it's a way of hurting someone else who hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
We have got to get some healing and release that.
Gotta release it. Yeah.
We're not going to be able to stand before God and say, but them.
This
happened already. Yeah. This happened already. This happened already in Eden. Yeah. It's going to be a replay of that. Yeah. And we will not get to say, but it's the person you gave me.
No.
Or is this one right there? It is me, oh Lord.
Standing in the need.
So we know how this goes, and we're not going to be able to deflect.
That's right.
There's no person, Trump, anybody else, that I'm going to get to point to and say, but see, that's why I didn't love you like I should have loved. That's why I didn't obey you.
That's woefully deficient.
Yeah.
Thrice holy God.
Yeah. Well, the white evangelicals are just so hypocritical. Yes. Yes. For generations, for hundreds of years. Yes.
But who do you say that?
But exactly.
And what is it to you? That's what Jesus said. And?
Yes. And how much more should you be able to recognize the reality of the real me over that?
That's right.
I just do not miss this moment.
That's right.
Do not miss this moment. Do not become so and rightfully angry, afraid, frustrated that you don't turn to the one who is holding us up.
Yeah. Who is hope personified?
Right.
Who is hope personified?
Our only help. The only real power.
Literally. So today is the day of salvation. Don't miss it. Do not miss it. Do not. You don't want God to pass you by. You don't. I don't know what it's gonna take. I was hopeful that under COVID, people would turn, repent, we would see something, and it just didn't. That didn't happen. Like, you know what I mean? There's a confluence. There's a lot of reasons, actually, quite a few reasons why we're under judgment right now. It ain't just that. There's just a hardness in the land. I mean, and we know that,
there's pain.
There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of trauma. But golly, and a true spiritual blindness for sure. And so we have to just continue to pray that the Lord would lift the scales from the eyes so that they could see the beautiful light of the gospel, right? So 2 Corinthians says, you got to be able to see that.
It's not just a motivation of fear. It's a motivation of love. Look at the contrast.
Life.
Look at the contrast between the leadership of the wicked and the leadership of the divine.
Yep. I'm righteous. That's right.
That contrast enough of look at the cruel king and the contrast of the king that gives himself up for you.
Yes.
Let this moment help you see the contrast to say, like, oh, who would not bow the knee to a God like that?
The King of Kings.
Yes.
The Prince of Peace.
Yes. Who does not use people, but gives people life and life more abundantly. That contrast, do not miss it. I can't say it enough. Don't miss it. That's the end of the episode. But
don't miss it.
Do not get so overwhelmed with wicked leaders that you miss the beauty of the gracious one.
Amen. I think we just leave it right there.
Amen.
That's beautiful. Well, we want to thank you for sitting at the table with me, my sister.
Thank you. And don't forget to get y'all leopard and animal prints next time.
Yeah, get it together. My fellow 93%. And we want to thank the rest of y'all for sitting at the table with us. Let's keep the conversation going. Please share your thoughts about the 92%. Still resisting the 92% to rest or resist. Give us your thoughts. We want to know. Hit us in the comments section. Let us know. Or email us your thoughts at asktruthstable@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate and review the show. We are on YouTube. We are on all of your podcast players. So make sure you rate and review the show on there. And support us on Patreon, y'all. Support the work of Truth Table so we can keep on bringing you some good content. Anyway, we have been your hosts, Ekemini
and Christina.
We'll see you soon on the next Truth Table. Bye, y'all.